It was once a remote hypothetical, but the COVID-19 pandemic has created some very real reasons to ask this question. What happens if a candidate for president is incapacitated or removed from the race before inauguration or before Election Day?
We have the two oldest nominees in history, and we are now facing a pandemic that impacts specifically older men in particular, and both of our nominees happen to be in that high-risk demographic.
What happens depends on when a candidate might fall out of the running: before Inauguration Day, before the Electoral College meets, or even before Election Day. That last one is a time frame that experts say leaves no room for ballot changes, but could lead the Electoral College into new territory.
We are at a point in the cycle where it is too late to replace the names of the candidates on the ballot. Most of the states, we've already passed those state deadlines. We also have the situation that in many states, absentee ballots, military ballots have all been sent. So voters are voting on the current candidates that have been put forward by the parties. But what would happen, because when voters vote for president, they are in essence voting for the slate of electors that are bound to that party. And what you would see is that the major national party would direct their electors to cast ballots for a different selected nominee for president and vice president.
If something, and we certainly hope nothing happens to either President Trump or Vice President Biden, if something were to happen to either one of them, it's extremely likely that electors would be asked to select their vice presidential running mate, either Mike Pence or Kamala Harris.
Putting aside that possibility of a vice presidential candidate stepping in for the top of the ticket when the Electoral College votes, there's also the question of what happens if a winning presidential candidate is incapacitated after the Electoral College vote, but before inauguration. Something the experts say actually has a simple legal answer.
Now we're in the zone of presidential succession, or the succession of the president-elect. There, you don't have to wonder who's going to be chosen. There's a very distinct setup progression for that.
And all signs suggest we can take one question off the table entirely. Could a candidate's illness or removal from the race lead to a delay in voting?
No, it is in law. So in order to change the date of the election, one would have to pass a new law through the House, through the Senate, and have the president sign that law.
The election date has always, in times of war, in times of personal candidate misfortune, has always been set. It would also be hugely disruptive. Ballots have gone out, people have made plans, so Congress has the power to move the election date, but I think there is no chance that they actually choose to use that power.